Thank you, moderator. I'd like to thank the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, WICCI, for inviting me to participate in this event. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Reinaldo Figueiredo. I'm the ISO Casco chair. ISO Casco is the ISO committee that developed the standards related to conformity assessment. I'm very honored to talk to you about Casco standards related to the integrated management system. And I'm going to share some slides that I'm going to use during my presentation. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so my main objective today is to talk to you about standards and conformity assessment related to integrated management system. Before I talk about those standards, I like to give you a brief on the role of the ISO Casco. As I mentioned, is the ISO Policy Developing Committee on Conformity Assessment. One of the role of Casco is to study the means of assessing conformity assessment of product, process, and service, like your cell phone. Your cell phone, for you to use it, it's been tested many times, and also it has the certification of the cell phone. Another role of Casco is to prepare international standards relating to practice of conformity assessment, like certification schemes, use of the mark, and many others. And also, we promote the mutual recognition agreements that are existing in many different levels, and that those recognition agreements use ISO Casco standards. So we develop generic conformity assessment standards, and I'm going to give you a brief on those standards later on in my presentation. We also develop policies related to conformity assessment practice, and we have 142 members and 23 organizations that are under the liaison members, and we have 37 published standards and 3 under development. ISO itself has 167 members, and from those 167 members, 142 are Casco members. So what's conformity assessment? Conformity assessment is the process that we use, and laboratories use, companies use, to verify if products, process, management systems are in accordance with specific requirements. This is what we call conformity assessment. And conformity assessment is the chain between standards and what we use today. For instance, many products that you have with you there, like I mentioned, cell phone, those cell phones, they are certified. Here is just a brief in terms of those 37 standards that we develop, and what is the scope of those standards. We have standards that are related to principles of conformity assessment. Other standards are defined requirements of competences, impartiality of conformity assessment bodies that we call certification bodies. Also, some of those standards are related to methodologies on conformity assessment. And also we have one standard that defines requirements for the competence, impartiality, and continue use the same process on those, it's called accreditation bodies, and also standards for peer evaluation. Here you have what we call Casco Toolbox. All those standards that I mentioned, the 37 standards, we call those standards Casco Toolbox. As you can see, we have standards related to people that defines requirements that certification bodies that certify people, personnel, needs to have in place in their process is the ISO 17024. We have the other one is for laboratories. It's the ISO IEC 17025. And we also have standards related to management system is the one that I'm going to talk more specific about those standards and series of standards. It's 17,021 part 1, and also other technical specifications that are related to this standard. ISO Casco, how we function. There are the ISO Casco Mirror Committees. It's those committees that those 142 members of Casco has, like in India, there is the BIS, Bureau of India Standards. There is a ISO Casco Mirror Committee on your national standardization body, and they participate actively in the activities that we have in Casco, in the working groups, and also in some committees that support the chair and the vice chair. So conformity assessment brings confidence and trust, and also in some situation, support regulatory compliance. Back to the example that I mentioned about the cell phone. In India, for sure, there are regulations that the cell phones needs to comply with. So conformity assessment is supporting the implementation of those regulations. So more specific now in what is management system. Management system is the way in which an organization manage its process, and how the company, when they implement the management system, they can be internally to support the company to produce products in accordance with specific requirements. And the management system standards, they can be used in variety of scope of process. What is the benefits? The benefits for the companies to have a management system standard is going to facilitate to manage their suppliers, how they communicate with their clients, and also internally, how to support their employees, how to support the teams that they have internally in the company, and also improve risk management and protection of people and the environment. Management system standards, ISO has many standards relate to management system. As I mentioned, they apply across all economic sectors in various types of standards. We have ISO 9001 that I'm going to talk a little bit more. We have 26,000, the social responsibility. As you can see, ISO has many of those management system standards, and they can be used in different companies, small companies, large companies, and in variety of companies, independent of the size and what the company produce or provided service. So ISO 9001, this ISO standard on management system, was the first edition of those standards was in 1987, and now the last edition was ISO 9001 2015. So as I mentioned, this standard set specific requirements of quality management system that can be used for certification, but not necessarily. If the company wants to implement ISO 9001, they can implement it, the standard in its process, but the certification is the process to validate. Organization come and validate that the company implement ISO 9001. So there are more than 107 countries that they have certifications in their countries. I mean, example of certification in their countries for in accordance with ISO 9001. So this standard is based on a number of quality management system principles, including focus on the client, motivation, how the top management support this process internally in the company. Another example is the ISO 14001. This is related to environmental management system and can be also used in certification. And this standard provide assurance to the company management and employees, as well as external stakeholders, that environmental impact is being measured and improved. So with this company, more and more with climate change, this company is this standard, it's very important to be implemented in companies, because give you the direction on how you can reduce the impact in the environment. So certification is the process that only third-party organizations can provide the certification. It's the final document that the certification bodies issue to the companies in management system, in the management system certification, like a company that produces a cell phone wants to have its management system certified in accordance with ISO 9001. That company go to a certification body, and very important, that certification body needs to be accredited. In India, you have an accreditation body. So look for certification bodies that are accredited by your accreditation body in India, and that organization is going to provide this process. It's a process that has some steps that the company needs to go through, but key point, as I mentioned before, to use certification bodies that are accredited. And this also certification give you more assurance that the process are in place. So in terms of 17021 Part 1 is the standard that defines requirements for organizations that want to certify management system. I mean, those third-party certification bodies. So these standards set the requirements that those organizations needs to have in place for them to be able to provide that service and also to be accredited. Just some examples, some types of management system and requirements, as well as I said, this is for a certification body that can certify management system, quality management system, environmental management system, like cybersecurity, the 27,000 series of standards. Those certification bodies that are accredited, if they have competences to certify companies, they need to use this standard that is ISO IEC 17021 Part 1. So this standard has generic requirements, requirements relate to structure, resource, the information that the company has, and also the management system requirements. So here are a series of standards that were developed because came the need to have this standard that you can see in your slide, it's more related to competences, competence requirements. For instance, ISO IC TS 17021 Part 2. TS means technical specification. This is for competence requirements when the certification body is auditing and certification on environmental management system. And then you can see there are a series of other standards there. We have 14 parts on 17021 Part 1. And recently, there is a new work item proposal that is related to auditing and certification of healthcare quality management system. Here it's just a quick overview on the activities that ISO is doing in the Gender Action Plan, that this is one of the priorities, and ISO had this project for some years. And the Gender Action Plan from 2019 to 2021, this is the list of lessons that ISO learned when they contact the technical committees that are under ISO and also the national standardization bodies. And now ISO has a plan. This is some data that was got from those activities that ISO had done, like experts, the number of women involved in the standardization process. This is internal in ISO and also in the national standardization body. So the action plan, there is a part that's collect data. The other one is research and assess that data and create and update, improve tools in all structure of ISO, in TMB, the Technical Management Board, in ISO Casco as well, in terms of how there are more women participating in our process. We have, my vice chair, Carolina Ota, she's from Kenya. So as you can see, we are already implementing some of those actions. So here, I think I cover a little bit about that. And what do we want to achieve? So it's collect and analyze reliable and accurate data on gender representation, balanced participation, as I mentioned, in the representation of all those working groups, subcommittees, technical committees in all different levels, and support the ISO members on gender equality. So this is what I had to say to you about ISO Casco, about integrated management system and standards, and you have my email there. If you need anything, you can contact me. Again, thank you very much for your attention.